Federal government commends Nigeria trade negotiator over change in ECOWAS rules of origin. Central Bank of Nigeria set to assess banks over looting. Nigeria's oil deposits down by 2.16%. Details of this and more on Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Benny Adams, your guide. The federal government has commended the Nigerian acting chief trade negotiator and director general, Office of Trade Negotiation, Victor Liman, for lobbying the economic community for West African states, ECOWAS, to change its position on rules of origin on goods from special economic zones, as well as the free zones enterprises across the country. The enterprises, located in over 40 special economic zones in Nigeria, described the trade negotiator as a smart trade diplomat who has rescued Nigeria from likely huge loss of multi-billion naira investment, stressing that a distortion in foreign direct investment of goods from special economic zones in Nigeria had earlier been banned from enjoying AFCTA preferential treatment. The Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Ni Adebayo, who stated this in a statement signed by a head of media in the Office of the Trade Negotiation, James Akanya, reveals that the negotiator had led Nigeria to reject ECOWAS' position on rules of origin as it affects goods produced within special economic zones, even as he worked on the regional body to review her position on the issue. As part of efforts to boost financial inclusion, the Central Bank of Nigeria says it will promote opening of new accounts with zero balance. The Apex Bank said this in its report on monetary, credit, foreign trade and exchange policy guidelines for fiscal years 2020 and 2021. While encouraging banks to develop new products that would provide greater access to credit, CBN added that banks shall allow zero balances for opening new bank accounts and simplify their account opening processes while adhering to Know Your Customer requirements. National Financial Inclusion Strategy was launched to leverage existing bank branches, agent banking, mobile banking, agents, and digital financing services to deliver financial services to Nigerians. The dollar found support on Monday as surging coronavirus cases in Europe and the United States, and also lack of progress towards a U.S. stimulus package put traders in a cautious mood. Although hopes for a Brexit trade deal held sterling steady. Let's now see how the naira is exchanging for other international currencies. Only 9,103,653 workers have retirement savings accounts with pension fund administrators as of the end of August. The National Pension Commission stated this in its latest report, where it noted that the number is the total RSA registrations as at 31st August 2020. PENCOM also said in its second quarter report that RSA registrations grew to 9,039,727 as at second quarter 2020, moving from 8,998,580 in the first quarter of 2020, representing a growth of 0.46%. The growth is attributed to the increased level of compliance by the private sector as a result of the various steps taken by the Commission as well as marketing strategies of the PFAs. Domestic airlines are said to be losing about 3 billion naira daily to the curfew in Lagos, as they have been forced to reduce flights by over 70% in Lagos. The curfew is fast spreading to other states as the violence spreads. All the 8 domestic carriers originate their flights from Lagos, and Lagos Abuja flight, which is the most lucrative flight for all the airlines, have been on hold too, thereby deepening the financial stress of airlines which have barely recovered from the effect of the over 3 months shutdown due to COVID-19 pandemic. It was learnt that all the domestic carriers operate over 100 flights in and out of Lagos on a daily basis, which have been affected due to curfew in Lagos. Well, to further discuss the economic benefits and implications of IMF World Bank policy recommendations at the just concluded annual meeting is Dr. Emeka Okengu. He is a development economist. Doctor, you are welcome to Business
Pleasure.
Express.
Thanks for having me. Good afternoon, Nigerians.
Thank you. Well, let's start with recommendations from the IMF meetings, IMF and World Bank meetings. They just concluded. Part of the recommendations is balanced fiscal and monetary policy, ensuring resilience, debt sustainability, improve governance, as well as implement transformative reforms to promote resilience to future crises and shocks. Let's bring this to Nigeria. How does this apply to our situation?
That's exactly what the government is doing. That's what the government is all about. Let's apply it to you. Like Benny, get up, go to work, read the news, go back home. Okay, these are all the issues, okay, already being addressed by government. This is what government is all about, and that's why, you know, you have agencies that are in charge of your fiscal policies, okay, which is the executive arm of government, and then you have the central bank, which is in charge of your monetary policies, and you can see that there's a lot of synergy. I mean, the economic sustainability plan is a clear synergy, is a clear example of where monetary and fiscal policies, you know, meet together. So what's the, in effect, what I'm trying to say is that what the World Bank has said, you know, they haven't said anything out of the ordinary, and they haven't said anything to be celebrated, okay? What it is you need to do is probably say, okay, fine, are we able to interrogate, is there anything that we're doing differently, is there anything we can do better? You know, but please, before we go into that discussion, in the mood of the nation, please, I also want to join the millions of Nigerians to empathize, okay, with our citizens out there, those who've lost life, those who've lost properties, and please appeal to those who are in the streets, you know, to please, you know that this is the only country we have, and let's please the looting stop. So.
Well, you agree with me that the looting has vast economic implications, more so that the IMF projected a growth level of 3.1% for us going into 2021. With all of this that has happened across the country, do you see us maintaining such a projection? More so that we are supposed, part of the recommendations is ensure debt sustainability and debt management. Would this take us into much more borrowings? I hear Lagos State needs 1 trillion naira to rebuild infrastructure, just for government alone. We're not even talking about the private damages.
My worry is not even the economic loss. Okay, my worry is a loss of our social, political, social, cultural, social, religious values. My worry is this leading to a sense of entitlement, where it's become normal, where it's become acceptable, you know, for people to do the wrong things because they're hungry, for whatever. I think that would be the greatest loss to what is happening today in the country. There's nothing we lose we can't recover vis-a-vis physical losses.
Okay, talking about sorry to cut you there. Talking about hunger, the IMF projects 110 to 150 million people joining the poverty circle by 2021, and amidst that, we governments across board are looking for ways to recover. This road to recovery, how possible is that with these projections?
Well, you're looking at it from a very formal perspective.
Yes.
And remember that we have an economy that is largely informal. Okay, the underground economy of Nigeria hasn't been aggregated, and that's where a lot of the dealings go on. So when you are talking about the global index for hunger, I'm not trying to say that there are no hungry people, okay, but I'm trying to say to you that somehow our environment provides for us. We have everything it takes to be able to beat hunger. We might not be very satisfied, we might not have everything that we need, okay, vis-a-vis what you might be able to call your global nutrition standards, but people are able to eat. Is that enough? No. Can we do better? Yes. But all these 120 million people getting into the hunger circle, Benny, it's important to give a definition, a proper definition to hunger. Okay? Is hunger food? Is hunger nutrition? Okay? Is hunger feast? Is hunger being able to assuage or satisfy that need, okay, to be able to have something in your bowels? Now, if you're talking about that hunger, and then you're talking about a country that has 86 million hectares of arable land, should we be hungry? You're talking about a country that has capacity to grow everything, and you have 60% of our population are in the youthful age. Should we be talking about not being able to feed ourselves? What are we not doing right? So when the World Bank says to you, oh, we're calculating that the 150 million people, are these people old people? Are they young people? Why would a young person, why would you have a youthful population of 65% going forward? Yeah, I mean, you can see them in the streets. These are not statistics.
Are you implying that these figures from the World Bank shouldn't be figures we should worry about?
I'm implying that it shouldn't, it should be figures that should make us ashamed. When you're saying 150 million persons are going to be entering, I mean, we're about 200 million.
It's sub-Saharan African thing, not a Nigerian
Let even be 10 million people going to be entering into the poverty level in Nigeria with 86 million hectares of land, with all the whole raw mineral resources we have, with all the whole skills we have. It should be it's something we should be saying. Why should? But however, let me tell you why should, Benny. Why should is because everybody is focusing on government being able to provide everything. Everybody's focusing on, oh, I need to get a white-collar job. Everybody's focusing on, how am I going to be able to get this banking job or go to school and then become an administrator? That's the problem we have. That is what will lead us into hunger, not the projections of it. If I'm going to be using that as their statistics, I buy into it. But if I'm going to be saying to me that a country that has 86 million hectares of arable land, less than 10-15% of it in use, a country that has all the mineral resources that we have, a country that was the global biggest producer of tin ore, 8th biggest producer of columbite in the world, a country that has proven reserve of 3 billion metric tons of coal, about 6 billion metric tons of iron ore, would have people hungry? Hell, don't give me that. I'm not going to take it. But if you say, okay, now we need to look at our monetary and our physical and our trade and our development policies going forward, then you can be able to say that's where the challenge is. And I think truly that is where the challenge of development of Nigeria is, not in the statistics that are being banded around.
Let's look at what has happened to Lagos State and some other states, up to like 20 states across the country has been affected. Curfew has been imposed, movement of goods and services has been hampered, and the fact that Lagos contributes like 50% of businesses, say for GDP, non-oil, we can take it up to 60-65%. What does this imply to the figures in the coming days?
Let us also, these 20 states you're talking about, let us talk about the productive activities that are stopped. What are the activities that are stopped vis-a-vis production? What factories have shut down vis-a-vis production? What mines have,
Lagos?
What mines have, no, you're talking about 20 states. What mines have shut down? What you see is that people are in the streets, attacking warehouses of goods that probably were procured from outside the country. You're talking about trade, based goods and services. Okay, so if you are saying to me, oh, because of this crisis now, our textile cluster, okay, our textile is shut down. Okay, our plantations are shut down. Our tea plantations, our livestock plantations, our corn belts are shut down. Benny, then you'll be talking about shutting down our economy. What it is you have is that people who don't have anything they are doing are now attacking government facilities. Okay, are attacking private people's shops and all that to be able to break into things that they bought. So it's all about the loss of goods now. Right? I'm not trying to say that this is not bad enough, but you're making it sound as if, oh, what has happened is that all our production facilities have been shut down. Our workers are no longer going to work. They had no work to go to in the first place. That's the point I'm trying to make. And should it be the case with all these raw material endowments that we have in Nigeria? This is the argument. So are we thinking it's properly true? What will now, I thought the question you'll be asking me is, what can we be able to do now as a country? Faced with this, everybody's in the streets, we are hungry, we are this, we are that, we are that, we are that. Now,
yes, the IMF has got its own solution. IMF and World Bank have brought down some solutions based on those figures that we have. What are those local solutions can we put in place on the road to this recovery that we so desire?
The same solutions IMF have got to you is the same solutions you already have for yourself. And you see, remember that we had a document that they called the needs.
Yes.
Okay, where we locally developed what our needs were. And for me, as a Nigerian, for me, as a development economist, first and foremost, I have a farm. Okay? I am a farmer. I am producing, I am contributing my own little bit. And I'm certain that if you had 10 million of us or 20 million of us with our PhDs or our DLTs or whatever it is we had, or you beautiful newscaster, well respected, and you left this place and you went to tend to your chickens and you had 200 of them. If you had 10 million of us doing only 200 beds, we'll be having 200 million beds in the market for our people. So it's important that when IMF says to you, oh, look at your fiscal, look at your governance, look at your... You're talking about your formal economy. And please do note that it is only 5% of us, not more than 8% of us that are in this formal economy, which everybody now used to now grade the rest of us. Now, until you're able to get that right, whatever it is the IMF is presenting as the way to go, now talks about inclusive growth. What is inclusive growth? In one word, what is inclusive growth? Is getting everybody to put their hands on the table and then we're able to be pushing this thing at the same time. Now, what are these policies that ties our sub-nationals? For example, land. You need land to be able to do agriculture because of the kind of agriculture we do. Now, if you say that land, authority to allocate land is in the hand of state governments, what is that relationship between the state government and the federal government in allocating agricultural land? In whose purview is it? If we're talking about agroforestry, okay, if you're talking about even mining, okay, now you have this fight about who gives, look at what's happening in Zafra, for an instance. Oh, somebody says,
gives license for local mining?
Who gives, and who does that? Now, if you're able to unbundle and untie this, you now find out that you're now talking about a country, okay, that has 92,000 square kilometers of land, has 200 million people, has 500 dams, has XYZ, has this and that, and then we aggregate it into what you can be able to call a national development project, a national development plan. Then everything that the IMF, is telling you begins to fall flat on its face. Because at that level, Benny, you are able to say from Kaduna, I have 10,000 hectares of land I'm going to be allocating for XYZ, leading to, my national volume output of 10 million metric tons of cowpea, 20 million metric tons of maize that will now be allocated into poultry, into fish stock, into this. Now, this is how every other country works. And but nobody thinks that way for you.
In harnessing all of this, yes, resource management is key. Do we have enough resources to run this? We're talking about managing debt. We're talking about IMF is not doing enough regards to debt cancellation. Do we have enough in-house to manage this, as we have these subnationals coming to share from the revenue collected at the center?
I have a friend of mine. You might know him. I don't know if you'd like me to mention his name on air. He used to be commissioner of agriculture in Kaduna State. He's running a small ginger project Little. He's been able to raise $100 million
Wow.
to grow ginger in Kaduna State. Ginger. $100 million. He can get more.
That's to say government intervention is also working.
No, I'm trying to say, no, he didn't get this as commissioner. He's no longer commissioner. He got this by just aggregating farmers, aggregating land, and then signing an off-taker project with who's going to be taking his ginger. You can do the same thing for turmeric. So money, what I'm trying to say to you, that please, Benny, leave government out of this. Just see government as regulator, okay, administrator. The moment we are able to get government to be able to give the right policies, and what are these right policies? Let people have access to land. And if you're federal government, you must be able to have your exclusive list be reduced to the concurrent list, be reduced to where the private sector can play. So that when Benny Adams says, I want 100 million hectares of land because I have a group in Europe that wants 10 million metric tons of my output, you are able to easily get it without necessarily going to, turn into a beggar or a prayer warrior.
Okengu, from what you said, from your aggregation, yes, the route to recovery is very, very realistic and very soon.
It's doable.
It's doable.
I'm an incredible optimist because I've seen it happen. I've seen economies turn around.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Emeka, for sharing your thoughts. I think we need to continue this discussion some other time. Thank you so very much for sharing your thoughts. Well, moving on, a total turnover of 1.505 billion shares worth 19,668 billion naira in 20,552 deals were traded last week by investors on the floor of the exchange. Bosirable has the details.
The NSE All-Share Index for week ended 23rd October appreciated by 0.13% last week when 1.5 billion shares worth 19.6 billion naira in 20,552 deals were traded by investors on the floor of the exchange. Market capitalization closed at 14.9 trillion naira. All other indices finished lower, with the exception of NSE Main Board, NSE 30, NSE Merry Growth, and NSE Consumer Goods, which appreciated, while the NSE ASM Index closed flat. The financial services industry led the activity chart with 1.1 billion shares valued at 14.9 billion naira in 11,318 deals. The conglomerates industry followed with 97 million shares worth 269 million naira in 516 deals. The third place was occupied by the consumer goods. Trading in the top three equities were Guarantee Trust Bank, Access Bank, and UBA. They jointly accounted for 633.5 million shares worth 10 billion naira in 3,887 deals. 284,105 units of exchange-traded product ETPs valued at 2.90 billion naira were traded in the week in 44 deals. Also traded in the week were 19,811 units of federal government bonds valued at 25.8 million naira. Summary of price movement saw 28 equities appreciated in price during the week, 35 equities depreciated in price, while 99 equities remained unchanged. Boss Day Able, Business Express.
Transactions at the stock market on Monday, the first day of trading for the week, ended in positive territory. The NSE All-Share Index closed at 28,777.96 basis points as traders exchanged 340.8 million shares valued at 5.5 billion naira in 4,235 deals. Market capitalization stood at 15 trillion naira. Asia Pacific stocks were mostly lower in Monday morning trade as new coronavirus cases surged in the US as well as in countries across Europe. Bosirable has details.
European markets were lower in early Monday trading as surging coronavirus cases throughout the continent weighed on sentiment. Asia-Pacific stocks were mixed on Monday in view of the new coronavirus cases surge in the US as well as in countries across Europe. Shanghai Composite went down 0.82% to 3,251.12. Nikkei dipped fractionally to close at 23,494.34, while Hang Seng Index topped 0.54% 0.4%. Futures tied to the major U.S. equity benchmarks fell on Monday as coronavirus infections jumped and negotiations for a fiscal stimulus package before the election came down to the wire. Dow Jones Industrial Average futures fell 0.1%, an opening drop of more than about 300 points. S&P 500 futures and Nasdaq 100 futures also depreciated. Africa stocks opened mixed. Nairobi's All-Share and Tunisia's Tunidex appreciated. Ghana's GSE Composite was marginal, while South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 and Namibia's overall index depreciated. Bosside Ebo, Business Express.
Thank you, Bosside. And on that note, this is where we end this edition of Business Express. We value your feedback, so keep the comments, observations, and suggestions coming. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. You can also communicate with us on Twitter, and the handle is NTA News Now. Don't forget to use the hashtag. It's BizX. Business Express returns Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. I am Benny Adams saying, stay safe.